Hey, Will Heath here, founder of Sherpa. I've got Dr. Horn here, Daryl Horn. Wanted to just do a quick video. You know, Daryl, you have gone through the process of certification. You're one of my guinea pigs, right? I'm learning how to do certifications, trying to take what I do with succession planning, put the tools in denominational leaders' hands. The reason for that, just so you know, I have a deep conviction that and I've had this for a while, that I want to I think the best people to do what I do aren't actually consultants or search firm people. I think the best people to do this are actually folks like you, association leaders, denominational leaders that are frontline walking with churches. And so you were gracious enough to go through this process with me. And just, I want to ask just a couple of questions. One, you know, you have so many different certifications and different things, right? You know what a good process is, you know what a bad one is. What was it about the certification through Sherpa with succession planning? What was it that you said, yeah, man, I really want to do this? What were some of the things?
At this point, I have been a director of missions for 17 years. And over those 17 years, I have watched churches struggle, church after church struggle, because they didn't have the proper planning or proper thought process in place to help them make decisions. One of our roles in the association is to help a church with whatever it needs. One of the needs of a church is when they experience transition in their leadership or their congregation. You know, with the pandemic, there's been a lot of shifting, a lot of adjustments.
Yeah, right. Right.
Sometimes the weaknesses of our churches has become glaring pimples on the church's face, so to speak, that you can't avoid. And one of them is just how we plan.
For succession, pastoral transition specifically.
Pastoral transition or just contingency planning. I remember you telling us during our training of a church that had the worship leader and two backups, and all three got COVID.
Oh, man.
They had a contingency plan in place.
Well, no, that church didn't. They didn't. And so COVID, right? Their worship leader, their technology people, and like they go down. They didn't have an emergency transition plan for key staff. And it's man, it really, they were scrambling trying to get all that together.
We have a lot of churches, not only in our association, but in every association, churches that if the attendance is normal and we have some money in the bank, then we're good. We don't need to think about anything else. An insurance policy is a contingency plan.
Right.
Is your insurance policy what it needs to be? Just leadership changes. Just how do we identify new leaders? How do we get them in place?
Do you for your association, or San Antonio Baptist Association, SABA? So if you hear that term, that's the shorthand for San Antonio Baptist Association. But do you have data or an idea of what the average tenure of a lead pastor is here at SABA?
That's a very good question. It really depends on the church. Okay. Sometimes a church may rotate out pastors every 5 years. Okay. They're in this psychological mindset that
it's time to get a new car. 5 years, let's do it.
Yes.
Time to get a new pastor, right?
I remember some years ago when I was talking with the pastor in his office. He said, "This is a 5-year church." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I've done the history on the church, and every 5 years they get a new pastor." One guy stayed to year 7, and the last 2 years were very troubling.
It's just baked into their DNA.
It's just part of the psychology of that particular church. We have other churches that have a completely different perspective. They expect their pastors to stay 2 and 3 decades. That's a completely different mindset.
So you've got the gambit. You've got the gambit.
Yeah.
How many churches are in SABA?
We have over 300. If you look at churches that have participated within the last 3 years, we have about somewhere in the neighborhood of 350.
Wow.
And so our association is larger than some whole state conventions.
Right.
So we deal with language issues, multiple languages.
Any pastors that cuss? You got language issues? No, I'm kidding.
I hope not.
No, I'm kidding.
I hope not. Some of them probably have
They
wanted
probably
to
do,
during
yeah,
the
right.
pandemic.
Yeah, sure, right.
But rural, suburban, downtown, urban churches, we have the whole gamut. Older churches, we have a lot of churches, and a lot of associations do. We have churches that the congregation is up in age, and the community is transitioned around them, and they still have their small group, but
so that Kairos Chronos idea where the
Absolutely.
culture around them is in a new season, but the church is stuck trying to steward a season of ministry that no longer exists.
And as the attendance goes down, the finances go down. Some churches are not able to provide insurance for their facilities, much less repair their facilities.
Wow.
So the planning for the future, the planning for contingency becomes very difficult because they haven't done it in a long time.
Well, so you've got broad range. I mean, you've got to be an expert
In lots of different areas.
Right.